So, we're now on chapter 2 of The Boy Who Made the World Disappear by Ben Miller. And if you remember, Harrison's been given a balloon, well, a very special type of balloon that looks exactly like a black hole. And now, in chapter 2, you find out what happened. As Harrison walked home with his parents, he studied the extraordinary balloon. In fact, he couldn't take his eyes off it. He was vaguely aware of crossing the village green and climbing the hill to their cottage, but it was as if it was all happening to someone else. The balloon was like a huge dark magnet pulling him in. He stared deeper and deeper into its depths, looking for a place to rest his eyes. A shape, maybe, moving in the black, or a tiny chink of light. But there was nothing. Harrison was starting to wonder if it was even a balloon or something altogether more mysterious. A loud bark startled Harrison from his thoughts as a set of sharp white fangs snapped shut about a centimetre from the end of his nose. He leapt in fright, letting go of the string. Luckily, the balloon was tied to his wrist, otherwise it would have floated away, and well, this would be pretty much the end of the story. Harrison knew that terrifying bark and those razor-sharp teeth all too well. They belonged to Blue, his neighbour Mr. Hardwick's black and white border collie. His heart began to race and he started to feel faint. "Help!" he cried. "Just turn your back, Harrison," said Mr. Hardwick, leaning over the fence. "Blue won't hurt you. Stand still and she'll soon lose interest." Harrison did as Mr. Hardwick suggested and turned away from the dog. Then he felt Blue's hot breath on his neck as she snapped her teeth just millimetres from his right earlobe. He turned back around and tried to shoo the dog away. "Don't move your arms, darling," said his mother calmly. "She thinks you want to play." Harrison held his arms close to his chest. He could feel his heart thumping against his ribs like a crazed hamster trying to break out of a cage. Blue darted in front of him and kept jumping up, barking and snapping her teeth in his face. It was unbearable. "Ah!" yelled Harrison. "Oh, don't be so silly, Harrison," said his father. "Blue's just being friendly." The next few seconds felt like hours. As his parents continued their conversation with Mr. Hardwick, Harrison twisted and turned, doing everything he could to avoid Blue's yapping and snapping. But the dog wasn't giving up. This was too much fun. She crouched low on the pavement, prepared to leap, sprang from the ground. Harrison shut his eyes tight and ducked. For the longest time he stayed in that position, with his eyes closed, expecting to be torn apart at any moment. But nothing happened. He opened his eyes. "They left our recycling box behind," Harrison's mother was saying, "because we put a soggy tissue in it. I thought paper was recyclable." Harrison looked up and down the lane. Blue was nowhere to be found. "That's the council for you," Mr. Hardwick replied. "They love to make things difficult." Where had the dog gone? Harrison couldn't make any sense of it. And then he remembered he was still holding his balloon, his very strange balloon. It couldn't have anything to do with the dog disappearing, could it? He crouched down, just like he had when Blue had sprung up at him, and looked. As he suspected, the balloon was hovering directly above him. So when Blue had leapt for him, she could easily have hit it. What if she had crashed into the blackness and vanished? Harrison shook his head. No, that was ridiculous. Blue must have jumped right over him and run off down the street while he had his eyes shut. Perhaps she'd seen a squirrel and had run after it, or heard a cat wailing down on the village green. "Harrison, are you all right?" his father asked. Harrison didn't say anything. His mind was whirring with possibilities. Could Blue have really disappeared into the balloon? And if so, did that mean he could make other things disappear? And that's the end of the second chapter.